If you'll stand with me, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance and the salute to the New Mexico flag. Pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendships among united cultures.
All right, thank you, everybody. A lot of grass mowing going on. All right.
Roll call?
Yes, I was just looking at which one I don't have my glasses on. Can we get a roll call, please, ma'am?
Mayor Crawford?
Here?
Counselor Eby?
Here.
Counselor Letterman?
Here.
Counselor Hooker?
Here.
Counselor Jackson?
Here.
Counselor Corey?
Here.
Counselor Salas is absent. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. Agenda items, discussion on T-Hanger lease agreement between the Village of Ruidoso, Sierra Blanca Regional Airport, and Daniel Barcina for Charlie 1 T-Hanger beginning October 20th, 2025. Lee and Michael are still in Washington, D.C.
Online.
with the FAA.
They're online, Mike.
Michael's on there.
They're
Hey, Michael.
Good morning, and Lee's here with me.
Okay. Hi, Lee.
Good morning.
And so this one, since you guys are on here, we've got 1, 2, and 3 are on land. One's two land leases, and one is a T-hanger. And I know that some of the issues that you guys are working on right now in Washington, D.C. on these leases. How will these be affecting these guys? Do they understand that the lease, they will only be finishing out the original term and not an additional 20 to 30 years?
On the land leases, we have had meetings with them and they should understand that, yes, that they're only good for the remainder of the original lease. And then that we're working on revamping our leases.
Okay. And so will we have the backup data to show us what the remaining is on those leases?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll have that by next week.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have something, Michael?
No, sir, just what Lee said, the two land leases, we have specifically talked to those groups. And then on the T-hanger lease, they're familiar with what that rental agreement will look like.
Okay, because we're pretty comfortable on the T-hanger. That's just the standard one.
Right. I was
Correct.
just curious if I may, the land lease, does that mean it's, I know land, but is there anything setting on it?
Yes, sir. Those are just, the land leases are for the private owned hangars that are sitting on them.
But what I was getting at is on the land leases, the original 25 or 30 year, those are going to expire in 5, 6, 7 years.
They're gonna have to come back.
But that reverts to the village.
You can't redo it.
And so then they would be renting the hangar, the whole hangar from us. You know, and is that not correct? Is that not what we've learned from attorneys?
Yes, sir. So Mayor and Council, one of the things that we're working on currently is a third-party review of our contracts. Nationally, these long-term leases are looked up as basically sales of land or loss of land from an airport perspective. And so they're looking to significantly reduce the amount of time that hangars are leased, unless it's related to a specific type of business development. And so in our leases, what we've had is, and Zach can maybe clarify this a little bit more, there's a reversion clause of the actual structures or property that was built on top of the land lease. And so those structures do revert back to the village based on the agreements that were signed. There's going to be one specific, and I believe it's item 3 on your agenda, where there's an extension and a switching of ownership. That is Randy Bailey hangar. It is now moving over to Christine Rainier, and That lease only has 7 years left on it. She will be trying to seek an additional 30-year extension. However, until our third-party review is actually completed, we won't be moving towards any long-term additional leases. We're working with the state, with Jane, and getting that third party, hopefully soon, so that they can go through those leases, and that should take a few months for the lease reviews. Once that happens, we'll be able to come back with a comprehensive lease program that would be adopted by council and give everyone an idea of what that looks like. But we're, even here in DC, we're learning that there's probably 2 contracts that we have on file now that are extremely long leases that may not be compatible with FAA regulations, and we actually may have to challenge those leases based on some of the information we're learning here. So we'll have to have that discussion, but it's separate. But for these 3, they all are aware, and they all understand what the length of lease term is, but that they will probably still ask for an additional extension.
Mike, that third-party review, will that include a review of our pricing?
It'll only look at the review of the actual terms and conditions. No, sir, it would not look at the pricing component. We would have to do a fair market value study separately from that to be
Okay.
able to determine charging and square footage pricing.
Okay, I'm just curious, have we ever adjusted those rates, or have we adjusted them recently?
The rates are adjusted every time they renew for one of the extensions.
Yes, sir.
The rates are adjusted at that time off the CPI index, PCI,
Yeah,
It's CPI index.
CPI index.
Okay, so it's not static.
no, they come up, but it's very minimal. And so the point I was trying to make, and I'm sorry I came in last minute rushing everything, but I want to make sure that the new lease agreements, they understand they're just picking it up, and if there's 7 years left, that's all this is good for. It's not an additional 30. Now, these other folks, Christine and whatever, have on the side purchased these from Mr. Bailey, and he didn't come through council or anything. So really, their beef is with him, not with us.
Sure.
Okay, so we just need to,
But we're not going to give them an extra 30 years.
well,
are
that's
we?
up to y'all. I mean, they're gonna want to come back to the council and say, we would like to have an extension on, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lee, that they're gonna want, just the conversations I've had, they're wanting to renew them, and then, then they own the hangar, they have the lease, they want to come and say, we want an extension for 20 years or 30 years, and it's going to be up to the council and legal advice, and that's what they're doing, part of what they're doing in Washington DC.
And Mayor and Council, I think the recommendation we would give to you all is let us finish the third-party review, and then once that's done, then come back to us and we'll have more information on what our leasing program would look like.
Okay, so y'all savvy?
Yes.
Okay, all this is Randy's getting totally out. They're gonna finish his lease, but I want it clear that this is not a continuation or an extension of any
No
kind.
promises.
Yeah, okay? So where do y'all want these 3? You want
Consent.
all of them on consent? Okay, all right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Item number 4, discussion on agreement with Garrison Tree Service for fire mitigation, forest health, and watershed enhancement at Grindstone Lake, utilizing state contract number 30-5-22-3-23 in the amount of $78,399.16, including New Mexico GRT. How'd that do, Gary? Did I get the odd sound?
You were on there.
All right.
I was counting the zeros.
Okay, good. Good morning, Dick.
Mayor and council, this is a continuation of a strategy for reducing fuels on the southern part to protect us from a fire that comes in from the south. But the area was thinned about 5 or 6 years ago, and there's a lot of juniper resprouts that are coming back. And also, we've had quite a number of bug kill in that area that are close to trails and things. And so that area was selected both for safety from the trail standpoint, and we haven't been very successful in controlling juniper resprouts. So on this project, we're actually gonna dig out the roots and remove them so that on most of them, if it's too rocky, we can't do that. We'll still have to poison them. But for the most part, the roots will be dug out and disposed of. And hopefully that'll give us longer than 3 or 4 years on the resprouting.
Who, and this money comes from the state contract, but if we're getting ready to go out to bid, and contractors, how do they get the roots out of are they just pullable?
With backhoe.
With a backhoe?
With the backhoe, and they're actually making attachments to the skidsters that actually do this under the root crown and pull them out.
Pulls it out.
Whoa.
Now, this one says it's Garrison Tree Service. Were they on a state contract, or did we
Yes.
go out? Okay.
Yeah, they're on the state contract, and Garrison was also the one that did a 29-acre one just to the south of where this one's proposed. He does a really good job, and he's one of our contractors that's more concerned with a quality job than the amount of money he makes.
So what are we doing, what's he doing with the waste?
He's masticating some of it, but the trees and things he's carrying to the dog park, and
The bigger ones?
yeah.
And when do we think that we'll be able to start this?
This particular project is being paid out of the state fund that the state legislature allocated to us, and so after you approve it, then we have to send it in and get it obligated by the state. So we're probably looking at least a couple of weeks after you approve it to actually get it started.
Okay, the reason I was asking is about the bio plant, but we may not have the facility to drop that off.
And Mayor and Council, this is capital outlay funding that we received last year, $500,000 appropriations that once if it's approved by council, Judy will submit it to Department of Finance and with a notice of obligation on that, so.
Okay,
I think regular to let the public
Yeah.
know we're being proactive.
okay,
And what it's dedicated to.
thank you. Appreciate it, Dick.
Thanks, Dick.
And Mayor and Council, Dick and I are going to call Laura, the state forester. Spoke to Harlan Benson, and he said that pot of money that the county received, the $5 million, we're going to apply, we're going to find out what's available and apply for some funds for within the village limits. So we're going to have that call after lunch, so.
Okay. Excellent. Item number 5, discussion on the purchase of site furnishings for Two Rivers Park from Extra Play in the amount of $371,565.16, including New Mexico GRT utilizing the Allied State Contract 22-7425. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Council. So this is a grant we received. It's a Charles Plus grant from that New Mexico Outdoor that will replace a lot of our site furnishings that we lost during the flood. So it's 30 8-foot tables, 15 6-foot tables, 10 6-foot benches, along with 2 new pavilions. So it's going to be a 30 by 38 pavilion and a 24 by 30 pavilion going to that park.
Matthew, what do the pavilions look like? Are they?
So they're going to be like our other pavilions, kind of like what's in Wingfield Park, the steel pavilions with the wood under the bottom of it.
Are you going to put them in the same place?
So the pavilions are going to move. They'll be in that same meadow area, but the bigger one's going to be on the far north end of that meadow area. The smaller one's going to be kind of more south of where that little pavilion that we lost was. But these pavilions, because they are the smaller pipe and stuff, they will catch less debris, and so they should be better off. And they're also bolted down where that other one was not bolted down.
What's the condition of the restrooms?
So the restrooms right now, they're actually fairly good condition inside. We have to replace toilet paper dispensers, like soap dispensers. The big repair we're waiting on is the electrical. So we have to replace the electrical meter and the heaters inside. And so we were waiting on Ricky for that, LeMay with Mountain Electric. We should be getting that done pretty soon, though.
Go ahead, sir.
So why didn't you spend this money on cleaning up the river and rerouting the river and doing something else with it?
Because this grant, this is the only thing this money can be spent on, is recreation opportunities, things like that, along the trail. And so,
And is this in any way, do we have to permit ourselves to put stuff back in there because of the changing from floodway to floodplain?
Mayor Crawford, Counselor Hooker, we will be going through CID on any work that we do if needed permitting, so.
and this does include the install and the everything for these pavilions. We also do have a plan in place of, during the spring of next year, we'll be pulling these tables out of the park and relocating them to other park locations, just for the monsoon season. Then we'll relocate them in the park in September, October timeframe, just to protect our assets in that way for those tables.
Okay,
Portable tables.
portable tables. Where do you guys want
I think a regular.
Regular.
them? Regular? Okay,
Thank y'all.
Just
Thank
for
you.
those questions, may I ask again?
item number 6, discussion on adoption of resolution 2025-33, a resolution amending the Village of Ruidoso Personnel Policy, Chapter 6, Section 6, Section 8. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Morning.
Mayor and council. So this resolution, if you all remember, in January 2023, we finalized the personnel policy revisions. And from feedback we received from employees and directors from employees, we are asking for a consideration to revert back to the prior policy, which allowed employees to accrue leave biweekly per pay period, at 4 hours of pay period to start. And that would be a change from the current where they're earning 40 hours at 6 months and another 40 at a year. And the biggest challenge with that is they have that 40 at 6 months and the 40 at 12 months, but then they have to wait an entire year till their anniversary to get their next lump sum of 80. And so that's challenging at times for employees, to have that time off, the paid time off that's important, and the work-life balance.
Which, by the way, I'm so sick of hearing that term, I can't even tell you.
What term?
Work-life balance experience. I hear that from everybody about that. But so can you tell us, we changed it all. I know we worked on it. So where are we? Can you give us an example? You just gave us that one. After 6 months, they get 40.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of 12, they have an additional 40. So that's 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then a whole year, they get 2 more.
Mm-hmm.
So they can have 4 weeks if they haven't taken anything, or do they have to use or lose it?
No, sir, there is still a max of 260 hours, so
Okay.
that hasn't changed. And we would ask that stay the same. And once they get to 260, they don't accrue.
So now then we're saying what? That every 2 weeks, they get 4 hours of vacation, however they want to take it, and they can take it anytime they want.
Yes, except for new hires would not start accruing from date of hire. They would revert back to the previous policy where they would get 52 hours dumped in their bank at 6 months, and then they would start to accrue at 4 hours of pay period.
Cheryl, would this be retroactive?
No, sir.
So it would start from the date council approves it
Yes.
going forward?
Yes, and we talked about several ways that we could, and let me just say, this would get, all of our grandfathered in employees are accruing this way, and then the new employees are not. And so, and employees talk, and so they know that there's a different accrual for the grandfathered in employees. But the best way we came up with to get everybody back on this is just to start allowing them to accrue at the 4 hours of pay period, and then at their anniversary period, wherever that is, make them whole at the 104, which is what they would have accrued in the year.
Mayor, I spoke to Ron and Cheryl yesterday, and, you know, I'm concerned we've got employees that are not taking their vacation time and for their mental well-being. And, you know, I know at my bank, we required a minimum amount of time that had to be taken off. Plus, we limited the number of days that could be rolled over to the next year. I think we limited it to 40 or so. You all indicate you're reaching out to the league to find out if there's some
Right.
comps out there.
And they should be coming in this week.
Okay.
And Mayor and Council, during the summer, we did survey 12 entities, or we reached out to 12. I think we got info back on 10. And that's what prompted this, is that all the ones that we heard back from are doing an accrual, not just a lump sum at certain times. They're all doing an accrual, and that increases over years.
So, and we talked about the financial impact. There obviously is a financial impact, but it's gonna be pretty tough to figure that out, I presume.
Counselor Corey, Mayor, that yes, because it's going to depend on, at the time of payout, it'll depend on the hourly rate of the employee and the amount of leave they have.
Judy's got something to say.
Counselor Corey, Mayor Crawford. So the only time the payout would come, the actual financial burden would come out would be at the end on employment, whether they retire or not. Because that's depending if they retire and the number of years of service, they can cash in so many hours of vacation on a sliding scale and the sick leave. So that's when the financial burden would come.
I didn't think
you-
sick leave was involved in that anymore.
If you retire.
If you
Oh,
were,
not anymore?
no,
Okay.
no, it's not anymore. Debbie Lee broke us of that habit.
So Judy, the
The grandfathered in people will
Okay.
get the sick leave if they retire from there.
the cash expense would come if they cash it out at
Yes.
retirement. But there's
But
there's also a productivity cost, if you will, by people not being at work. You know, and I know that's hard to put a number to, but so from an accounting standpoint, are we accruing for that, or is it recognized at the time it's taken?
So we do it two different ways. So when I budget a total hour of, let's say just on a regular employee, 2,080 hours. Now, whether we pay it in vacation, sick, it's still a total of 2,080 hours that's in the budget. And then in the audit at the end of the year, based on leave balances for sick and vacation, I take into consideration if somebody was going to retire within the next year, what that cost would be, and then it's included in our compensated absences within our audit. This year, GASB passed an addition to compensated absences to where now we have to look at not only those sick leave balances if they retire or terminate, but I have to project what is our base use of what we're going to pay out in sick leave. So that's another calculation that's on top of the termination or retirement benefits that I already calculate. So it'll appear in our audited financials.
Okay, so what's the maximum amount of hours of vacation that an employee can accrue?
104 in a year for a new employee.
I'm talking about total,
260 hours.
260, and then what happens after 260 hours?
They max out and they don't accrue anything.
So you use it or lose it? Now then, I know there's people that haven't been able to use it because of what's gone on the last year or so. And so how do we handle that? That's a concern I have. You know, whenever we had people retire, and I said Debbie Lee a while ago because she was the one that had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of sick leave and everything, she never would take it. And then we ended up paying it out, and that's what some folks do as part of, they schedule that.
Sure.
But then the burden becomes all village at that point. And I'm with you, they should take it if they can.
But why can't they?
Well, I mean, like this last month, there's some guys that have such a shortage in the streets department, utility department, that they can't go. You know, they can't even take time off. Remember when we were offering incentives for employees to get extra credentialed and go to classes and stuff?
Yeah.
And they couldn't even take off to go do that because we're so short in those departments. So I know if we're at or near FTE, then I can see where we could, you know, you have so many hours and give them a notice, you need to take a vacation. But then again, when I was Mayor Pro Tem, dang near every department head was off July 4th, or Memorial Day, July 4th, and Labor Day. Every time. And so when something happened, it's usually when the town's full of people and the main person is gone. And so we made it that those directors have to be here that weekend to make it through, just to make sure that and it's just the cost of living in the village. That's the way we operate. The village operates. This is where this work-life balance, it always comes up because I want work less, I want more balance in my life, and that's where all these discussions always come. We have it at the municipal league constantly from all kinds of communities. That's why I'm anxious to see, because some of these have tried it in the past and they found it non-sustainable. And so, you know, you can't choke the host out and the employee, you know, and then at what point do you have to start laying off, you know? When the economy turns, when all of these things turn, you have to look at all that. That's what y'all are gonna have to judge. That's why you need all the basic information, but still be attractive to hire good employees, to keep good employees, and there's a balance there.
Yeah. Well, clearly, we need to stay competitive, but,
Yes.
I worry about the mental health of our staff. So when you look at the municipal league, you're gonna look at hopefully what other communities are doing. Can you also ask about minimum time off? And
Yeah, that's what all this is
having
about.
the-
Mayor Crawford, Councilor Corey, the mayor did visit with AJ. He was going to he sends a survey out to all the municipalities, so we'll see when we get that information, and
Good.
we can ask that.
A lot of the surveys is pay, what's comparative pay and a comparative benefit. Well, some of them, we have better benefits, and then it comes down to the older employees want better benefits, the newer ones want more money.
Sure.
And so there's a balance there, and that's what y'all have to walk the line on, figure that out.
Okay.
So,
And
hopefully we'll have that information this week, that's what we've been told.
And Mr. Mayor, I think in that ad hoc committee that we met with, one of the other issues that came up, and all of these are pertinent that we've discussed today, but was also in recruitment. And I think Eric brought up a good point that in recruiting new employees, the newer proposed system is more attractive to younger, newer potential employees than the current system. And so that was kind of a plus for me because they're finding it's a roadblock, and we don't need any more of those, especially in emergency management.
And then maybe we ought to talk to some private industry people and just see too, because you talk to them, they don't have near the benefits that working for the government agencies do. And there used to be a trade-off that, are you going into public or private sector? And so it's 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And we have to recognize too, it's just a very difficult time.
Sure.
I mean, I'm in business privately and I'm having a hard time finding employees because they can't have a place, they don't have a place to
The
live.
rules post-COVID have changed.
So, and those aren't sustainable. You can't work from home from everywhere. We're finding that in Santa Fe to people that still have not come back to the office that they finally have been laid off because they refuse to come in. And so.
Mayor and council, one other thing we discussed is it's also going back to what Councilor Jackson said, it's also a perception thing too, when they can look at their pay stub and they see that they're accruing, oh, I have 4 hours now and I have 8 and I have 12. And we talked about this, I talked about this during strategic planning when we talked about reviewing this policy, that paid time off is, in a lot of surveys and studies I've read, is number 3 for sure, but sometimes number 2, aside from compensation, Because sometimes a spouse may have good insurance coverage, so the other spouse that works for us is not concerned with that, but they are concerned about paid leave because they might have kids or aging parents or whatever the case. And everyone, everyone has things they need to attend to with their families, whether it's graduations, family vacations, weddings.
So
whatever the
you're
case.
proposing to lump sick and vacation time in? No.
No. We had some short discussions on a PTO system, but I don't.
Well, you just said PTO was the number 2 in some cases.
Well, paid time off is what I meant.
Yeah, then you,
Sorry.
but I put the 2 together, so they're different. PTO is not the same for everything.
Right. Yeah, I'm not proposing PTO. I think we're still at vacation and sick leave separate at this point.
Okay? Today we are. Tomorrow it'll be the perception that I don't, that's what I've heard from some directors and managers, they don't want to mess with, is this guy sick or not? So again, there's a lot to weigh here. We made a change. I don't even remember all the reasons, but they must have been good ones to go with what we had last time. And so now we're moving it back and forth a lot. So, go ahead.
Zach, when we were talking about this with Dr. Jackson and the committee, if we said, let's just say we said you have to take off a week consecutive, can you do that for a public employee?
Sure.
Okay, well, they didn't think we could.
Why not?
If you're making Mayor, if I may, if you're making a schedule as the administrator, as a director or whatever, you can say, you're off this week, you're off next week, I'm off the following week, and then we're all back together at the end of the month. Happy family. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, you should be able to schedule, but again, I get into like what we've been, and we did extra pay for monsoon season, all of these other things that we could afford. But there's just sometimes, some departments you can't, they can't go.
But there was a perception that the Village of Ruidoso will not allow, if you're in a position like an EOC, that you can't take off. And what I worry about is that those people are going to be looking elsewhere. To me, I understand the emergencies, and we have certain employees that it's hard to take off during those times. But what about October through May? And I think it's called time management. And I don't like to hear that, I'm cracking the whip to make you stay here, and now I'm getting sick and I'm not going to be here. I don't want to hear that.
Mayor and council, with the directors, if someone needs to take some time off, they're not going to be denied. If they have the time and if they want to take off, they can take off. We're going to, work with them to do that. We have in the past, so I don't see a problem with that.
The only time I'm aware of when they've said no is on one of our big holidays.
Right, exactly. When we have the holidays,
Well,
yeah,
That's perfectly understandable.
yes,
Yeah, I just don't know where this,
right.
what you're talking about, we're telling people they can't take time off.
Mayor and council, from my perspective, I've never been denied leave. But there's also an expectation that during emergencies, during that period at the EOC, that we all needed to be there. Now, of course, if there's an emergency or something very important that was already on the schedule, that's something we work through. But I think we're all in and committed during an emergency type situation, and we're not going to expect to ask.
I personally
for a
know
week
people
off at
that took
time.
off during the whole day.
Oh, absolutely, yeah,
We gave them the option and they took off, and that was perfectly fine.
yeah.
And there were others that did not.
Right.
That saw the need and stayed here and did their own thing. So, I have a hard time with that. I really do.
Well, we are doing deputy type of people to help out maybe
Yeah.
with some of those areas that maybe you can take off a little bit. Right? That would be one reason why we would have a deputy.
And Mayor and Council, yes, that's correct. You know, if we have the Public Works Director leaves for that weekend or a week off, the assistant will be in charge, and we're working it that way with the fire chief and assistant chief and the police chief and the deputy chief. So that's a way of working to have coverage. We make sure we have coverage.
It is, I agree with, well, and I'm sure all of you agree, it's just so important to be able to have a little bit of downtime to get away, to not have to answer that phone, just to rejuvenate and want to come back to work. I don't want anybody to ever think that that they cannot have a vacation when they've earned it. There are times, I get it. But as long as we're okay with that,
I think at the end of the day, though, the village, and the reason we're setting up here is for the good of the order of the village. And that means making sure public safety, fire, water's getting pushed in, trees are that's our job. And it is a hard job to be able to say, okay, here's the guidelines. However, each one of these managers decides to let someone off or not let someone off, and they can justify it, then we're gonna keep moving. And that's how we have to be, I think, as the fathers, if you will, saying, okay, here you go. Mission.
Well, it's a tough decision balancing it all, the finances of it, and then still trying to get equipment, still trying to do everything. But when we're over 70, we need to still find out what that number is again. 70 whatever % of the total revenue of the village, it goes to employees and benefits.
I just say,
No other business can do that.
for number 6, we need to have this discussion.
Number 6?
Isn't that one we just did?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about?
Oh, yeah.
You want a regular?
Yeah, regular,
Regular.
sorry.
So we're gonna need, hopefully we have a lot of information that comes with that to compare. Because ultimately, water bills are gonna go up. Ultimately, everything will go up to pay for it, and if it is, it is. So, it's just that you need to have all the information. But there's sometimes people can't go that haven't gone, but I don't know of anybody that needed to go that didn't go. But not for a whole week, some of them. And I do agree, you need time off. But it hasn't been optimal around here, as everybody knows. And now we're going to talk about the Ruidoso approval of the incentive plan.
Mayor and council, so we've been working collaboratively with the directors and managers, and we would like to ask for consideration to bring back an incentive plan that we had years ago. And in front of you, you'll see that we have a section for general certifications, and then it breaks out by department. We've captured the majority of the departments in here. And most of all of these are professional level certifications issued by the state or national associations. And again, we've sat down, Johanna's done a lot of the heavy lifting on this, so I thank her for that, but we've sat down and met with management teams and determined which of those are critical for those departments, and based on the complexity of the course, or certification, we've tied an incentive amount to that. We've put in here that directors would have to approve these as well as the village manager, and it has to be relevant to their job duties or their department. And so we did have this, and it worked well in the past. And shortly after I got here, we went away from this and went to pay for performance, which was at a 432% for different levels in the organization based on completion of their goals. And because we've increased pay, we had to bump that back to 1%. And so now we're asking for consideration of the incentive plan with specific classes that are meaningful for the organization. A lot of times pay for performance is, it's not equitable. It's hard to find, somebody may be taking a week-long class for 1%. Somebody may be taking a 4-month certification course for 1%. And so that'll be a discussion that we need to have on what to do with that, whether we revamp it or phase it out. But we'd like to ask for consideration to look at this incentive plan because they are very important professional level certifications that our staff need.
Would this, Cheryl, would this be retroactive?
So we are asking for a one-time look back and review to see, if an employee was compensated for it at time of hire or after. We would like to look at those, and those would not be eligible. But if in the last few years they have not been compensated for it, we would ask that you would consider that we can look back. And the reason why is.
Look back even into a prior fiscal year?
Yes, but I'm not asking for back pay. I'm just asking to be able to, if they've had this, if they've earned the certification and haven't been compensated for it, I would like to be able to compensate them for it.
So it
but
is
no-
back to the previous year.
But no back pay, just from now forward.
I'm confused.
Yeah, that's totally doesn't make sense.
I think you're just taking the certification into play and then saying, okay, well, you got it, so now we're gonna put your incentive pay.
Start paying you now.
Correct.
Right
And
now.
right, and the reason for that would be just the pay compression that we've seen, that we're experiencing in some areas where, you have someone who wasn't compensated for it, that took it last year, and a new employee that comes on, and they are compensated for it. So the pay is relatively close, too close. And that's my reasoning for going back and trying to capture some of these.
So with this particular incentive plan here, and you're saying that we had it before, how does it match up with the previous incentive plan? And what I mean is like percentage-wise as far as what you're offering as far as the incentive for certification. It's about the same as far as, considering your COLAs and cost of living increase and everything.
Counselor Eby, there are some on here that we had before. Hopefully this is what you're asking. And we did, I know for bilingual, for example, it was a 12-cent incentive then, and we've now asked for 30 cents. So there has been a little bit of increase, if that's what you're asking.
So,
I'm saying it's on parity with what was in place before, essentially, pretty much.
Yes.
so Cheryl, for my edification, we have an employee, hypothetically, this gets adopted. We have an employee that had the associate degree so from a pay standpoint, how far back are you going to give them credit for that degree?
Probably about 3 years.
So it is back.
Yeah. So it
However, if the associate's degree was required for their position, they would not be eligible.
Wait a minute, you're gonna go back, if this gets adopted, and then you do a screening of every employee, and you find out that she had an associate degree because she'd been hired 6 years ago, you're gonna go back and they're gonna get back pay all the way from there to now?
No, and we would go back that far,
Isn't
Counselor
that what
Hooker.
you just asked?
Yeah. How
'Cause
far
you said
would
3
go?
years.
3 years.
How far would you go back?
About 3 years. But I wouldn't recommend back pay. I would just recommend giving them the 35 cents for the
So you're not
associates.
saying to go back 3 years and pay them that
Correct.
35 cents for all that time?
Correct.
You're just saying now we're going to start paying you 35 cents?
Correct. Because we have employees asking, and that's why I'm bringing it up. We have employees asking if, now that we're putting this out there, and I just earned mine 6 months ago, am I going to be able to get compensated for that?
So again, it's from this day forward, it's not, I'm gonna give you 6
No.
months
Yeah,
back.
absolutely not.
Okay, this is right now, we're discussing, do we want it? Because we got to move on, we got another meeting in 15 minutes. But as you can see, we've been yo-yoed over and over and over by this committee to change our pricing, to change our pay, to change our incentive. We have this all the time. We've all made these decisions over the last years in the betterment of moving forward, only to be told no. So I don't know how accounting-wise you keep up with who's been in what, who's grandfathered in what. It's a nightmare. So we'll
Regular
put this
item.
one on regular item. Item number 8, discussion on task order RFP 2024-004P-07 with Cobb Finley and Associates, Inc. for completion of a storm drainage master plan for the Village of Ruidoso in the amount of $349,892.10, including New Mexico GRT.
Jackie.
Good morning, everybody,
Good morning.
Morning.
council and mayor. This is the storm drainage master plan that Cobb Finley will be working on, and I apologize for that. And this is a project that Christella had started when she was here, but it got put on hold because of last year's floods and fire. So NMED has already funded the project. We just want to move forward because we have until July 26th of next year to complete the project. And like I said, Cobb Finley, since they're doing our watershed, it's kind of blends in. So they're going to go ahead and do the master plan for us.
Mayor.
Okay, go ahead.
So they're going to go through every drainage area. So are they looking at culverts?
Yes, ma'am.
All of that?
Yes, this is a design for water pollution control, which includes for measures to manage or reduce and treat stormwater or also subsurface drainage water. So Cobb Finley has already done the drainage. So it kind of blends in with this, so it wouldn't take that long to finish. So that's why we thought that Cobb Finley would be the best fit for this project, since they've already done most of it with the watershed-based plan.
That wouldn't be Cedar Creek though, right?
No.
No.
Because that's a county.
County.
And Brady Canyon?
Yes, Brady Canyon, as long as it's within the village limits.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? No. Okay, we'll put that on regular item.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item number 9, discussion on task order RFP number 2024-004P-WWE-04 with Waterworks Engineers LLC for project management, additional engineering services and engineering services during construction and resident project representative services for Two Rivers raw intake and transmission system in the amount of $669,554.15, including New Mexico GRT.
Correct. So this project is the, what most of you know it as the Anaconda project.
Okay.
So the extra funding that we requested from Water Trust Board was because during the July floods, it went higher than what it was last year. So the electrical panel will be right next to the bathrooms. So it has to be 2 feet higher than what the watermark was at. So they had to redesign and make it 2 feet higher than that, and then also design some structures that would be around it to protect it from any debris that will come down the river.
The
And-
pump,
I'm sorry?
is that the pump that you're talking about, building a protective cage or whatever?
It's, yeah, for the electrical panel. Yeah, it's for the electrical panel that's going to be next to the bathrooms.
What happened to the pump?
It's gonna be buried underground. Everything's
Be
gonna be
underground?
underground, yes.
Mayor, on the pump that was there, we have it over at Plant 4. We're waiting on getting a quote from one of the pump companies so we can get it paid by the insurance or by the insurance.
I thought we had already ordered one.
That's what I was checking with staff here. They haven't ordered the pump. They received a quote, and I'm not sure where they're at on that, so, but we'll get that rolling, so.
Okay. And this will be buried? We'll get to see the whole work order?
Yes, everything is buried underground. I do have renderings. If you'd like to see them, I can send them to you.
Okay?
And they, everything will be underground. The only thing that would be above ground would be the electrical panel next to the bathrooms. And then in the river, I keep forgetting what is it called? Yeah, the Kawanda screen. I'm sorry, I always forget that word.
Wanda that's over the pump.
So
Yes.
it's encased in cement?
Yes, ma'am. And then they are also going to, since with the flooding that happened, there was a lot of erosion that's been happening very quickly around that area. So they're also going to put stone there kind of to protect the riverbed so that the project can last longer.
Do we have all the easements and every property ownership that we need along there? You know, we had some discussion
Yes.
over, we own it all. So we're not having to deal with
Yeah, everything's going to be on the
Rio,
right of way.
not Rio, Resort Drive.
Yeah, everything's going to be on the right of way. And we've also talked to Jesse Townsend because he did kind of,
Kinda, yeah.
kind of give a little bit of issue. So the engineer did come here, and me, Adam, and the engineer went over there. And he said that he wants to keep the pipe that's running through his property, so we're not going to have to worry about that one.
He wants to keep it.
That's what he said.
You mean physically,
Yeah,
but it's not gonna lay there to add to more junk. We're not gonna do that.
no.
Mayor, Council, so talking with Jesse, the pipe that's buried on his property, he does not want dug up. Erosion, you know, it's one of those things. So we told him, you know what, we'll go cut the pipe off. We can lay the, we don't
just
leave the
leave
pipe
it.
in there, and it's yours.
Okay, and we'll make sure that we get that signed off one.
Yes, sir.
We'll need we'll need a release of liability form on that
And we
you'll
have
have to
talked to
sign.
him, when the engineer was up here, we did talk to him about
Okay.
that, about the reduced liability on it. And just so you guys know, you know, everything is gonna be subsurface, the pumps, the Kawanda screen in the river, it's not gonna have the hose going in there like it was before.
Right.
But there is gonna be a structure, next to the bathrooms, with the electrical and all the VFDs and everything on it. So there will be an erected structure next to the bathroom that's gonna be, how high was it, Jack, you remember?
17 feet, I think.
Yeah, 17 feet high.
Okay, so on this part right here, it's gonna be buried. When do we think this job will start?
We are already ready to go out for bid. So the engineer said that maybe we can start in January.
Okay. Regular?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you, Water Trust Board. Item number 10, discussion on change order number 4 with DNR Tank for water storage rehab, rebid ITB number 2024-001B, reducing contract amount by $1,019,290.88, including New Mexico GRT, and requesting an extension of 117 days to November 3rd, 2025. So I know we've taken away a lot, so I know you're going to have a complete breakdown of the final project.
Correct. And what I also did is I listed it under the financial impact. It's got the original contract price, the increase from the previous approval of the change orders, and then it's got the contract price prior to the change order, and then the decrease of this price, and then the final price. So it's all spelled out.
And it's looking good. Does anybody notice the new paint job?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
So, yeah, it's been a pretty good project.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions? Regular? Consent? Okay, consent. Thank you very much. I mean, it's pretty on the inside and pretty on the outside, kind of like you, Susan.
It's going to be a good prize.
I hurt Susan's feelings evidently a while back, and I'm still trying to make up for it. Item number 11, discussion on adoption of Resolution 2025-35 relating to the, now this one's all legalese, so hang on, to the $918,415 loan grant agreement dated January 19th, 2024 between the Village of Ruidoso and the New Mexico Finance Authority, entered into the purpose of financing the costs of construction and rehabilitation of Upper Canyon Surface Diversion Well, gates, and electrical equipment upgrades, authorizing an amendment to the loan grant agreement to accept an additional grant amount of $1,157,840.00 from the lender grantor to finance the construction cost overruns for the project, resulting in a total grant amount of $1,984,413.00, ratifying actions heretofore taken, repealing all action inconsistent with this resolution, and authorizing the taking of other actions in connection with the execution and delivery of the amendment to the loan grant agreement. Congratulations, Ron.
Mayor and council, I submitted requests for emergency funds for the Upper Canyon Surface Diversion Project to the Water Trust Board. Sat in their meeting, this has been about a month ago, and we did receive it, so we'll continue on with Sauter Miller and working on that project, so.
Go ahead.
So this, I'm sorry, Mayor, this will go towards the flood damage?
Yes.
Okay.
It's additional funding for the project, so.
Good job.
So,
I mean, and all the going back and forth and adding money, and then the increased cost of getting it wiped out, getting it put back in. So Ron worked his tail off on this, and so that was a great job. So. Regular. I mean, he did a excellent job on that one. When they kept saying yes, I was like, they just either don't understand, he's got them baffled, and, because, man, he had me going. All right, well, that concludes the workshop agenda, and this meeting is adjourned. Now it's 9 o'clock, and welcome to the Village of Ruidoso special meeting. Is it 9 o'clock?
Yes.